We'd been married 5 years. Long enough to feel secure, short enough that I still remembered how her laugh used to make my stomach flip. Sarah was my everything, smart, beautiful, the kind of woman who made strangers wonder how I got so lucky. We had our routines, coffee at 7, dinner at 6, and movie nights on Fridays. Comfortable. Familiar. Maybe too familiar. I started noticing it in the small things first, details easy to dismiss if you weren't paying attention. She began wearing perfume to the grocery store. The same scent she used to save for date nights. Lipstick, too, subtle but present. Then came the phone habits, screen down when I walked in, conversations ending mid-sentence. Her laugh changed. Less spontaneous. Measured. I asked her once, teasingly, if she was texting someone new. She laughed it off, rolled her eyes. "Please," she said, brushing my chest with her fingers. "You think I have the energy for someone else?" I didn't press. But the question didn't leave me either. Then there was Jake. He was the kind of man who always felt like he belonged in the center of every room. Charming, confident, the nice guy everyone trusted without question. He helped us move into our new place last spring. Came by with tools when our faucet leaked. Stayed late for drinks after. I never minded. He was my friend too, after all. But something shifted. I came home early one Tuesday, rained-out meeting, and found them in the kitchen. She was leaning on the counter, barefoot, wearing a dress I hadn't seen in months. Jake was across from her, grinning like he'd just told the best joke in the world. They didn't hear me at first. I watched for a second longer than I should have. The way she looked at him, it wasn't just amusement. It was attention. Focused. Warm. When she noticed me, her body flinched, not visibly, but I felt it. Jake turned, greeted me casually. She kissed my cheek, offered coffee. Everything seemed normal. But that's the thing about suspicion. Once it's there, everything starts to look like proof. I started keeping track. Not obsessively, at first. Just noting patterns. The days she lingered in front of the mirror. The nights she claimed to be too tired. Jake's name appearing more often in her stories. His car parked outside even when I wasn't told he was coming by. Still, I had no evidence. Just a feeling, one I couldn't shake. Until the day I came home unexpectedly again. I hadn't meant to. I'd forgotten my wallet. Turned around 10 minutes later. Walked through the front door. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then I heard it. Her laugh. Soft. A second voice. A low one. I didn't call out. I didn't move. I just listened, heart pounding, every instinct screaming, and realized something had shifted. Not just in her. In us. And I wasn't sure it could be undone. Jake had a way of being everywhere, without seeming out of place. He never overstayed, never asked for anything, and always made himself useful. Fixing a hinge. Carrying a box. Changing a bulb I'd been too tired to deal with. Helpful. That's how Sarah described him. "Jake's just nice," she said once, when I asked if he really needed to drop by again. "He doesn't mean anything by it." Maybe she believed that. Or maybe she needed to believe it. He was at the house more often that month. Little things. Stopping by after work to borrow a drill. Asking Sarah about paint samples for his apartment, claiming he couldn't decide on curtains without a feminine opinion. I'd come home to find them sitting close on the couch, talking softly, wine glasses in hand. They'd stand when I walked in, always a half-second too late. Then came the day that burned itself into my memory. I'd taken the afternoon off. Told Sarah I had a meeting. I didn't. I parked around the corner, waited. After 20 minutes, his car pulled in, right on schedule. I walked to the side of the house, staying low, heart thudding like I was the one cheating. The kitchen blinds were halfway open. She was cleaning, music low, wearing shorts, shorter than usual, and an old t-shirt that clung to her back in the humidity. She bent down to grab something from a lower cabinet. He stepped in behind her to help. His hand hovered near her hip. Close. Too close. Then she looked up at the microwave door, its reflection catching just enough. Their eyes met in the glass. She didn't move away. She smiled. That image carved itself into me. It wasn't graphic. It wasn't even overt. But it was intentional. A moment that didn't belong to me. A look I hadn't seen in years. That night, I watched her more carefully. How she touched me. How she kissed me. I tried to convince myself I was being paranoid, insecure,
weak.
But her touches felt rehearsed. Her eyes wandered too often. She moaned, but her body was somewhere else. Then I saw the messages. I wasn't even looking. Her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. One line lit up the screen. Last time felt different. Like you wanted more. She came out, wrapped in a towel, humming. I said nothing. She kissed me on the way to the closet, still damp, still glowing from the heat. I should have screamed. Should have demanded answers. But I couldn't, because I wasn't ready to hear the truth. And maybe part of me, the part that hated himself for it, wanted to see how far she'd go. It was a Saturday, bright, too bright. The kind of morning that feels like nothing bad can happen under a sky that blue. Sarah told me she was staying in to clean. I offered to help. She kissed my cheek and told me to enjoy my day instead. I nodded, smiled, walked out like everything was fine. But I didn't go far. I pulled around the block and waited. 10 minutes. Then 15. That's when his car showed up. Right on time. I don't know what I expected. Maybe to catch them in some clumsy, guilty kiss. A confession. An accident. Something human. But what I saw wasn't accidental. I crept up to the back window. The one that looked into the kitchen. The blinds were half drawn. Just enough for a view. She was already in the dress, that one. The one she wore when we were still in love. Jake stood behind her. Shirtless. His hands at her waist. She was bent over the counter, her palms flat, breathing slow, like she'd been waiting. She turned her head slightly, not enough to see me, just enough to let him kiss her shoulder. Her mouth opened, not in surprise, but in want. Then she whispered his name, not mine. And in that moment, something in me broke, but something else ignited. I couldn't move, couldn't look away. There was no drama, no hesitation. Just rhythm. Familiarity. Her hips tilted back toward him like she belonged there. Like she'd done this before. I had never seen her like that. Not with me. Jake's hands explored her body like he had every right to. She let him. Welcomed him. Her moans, soft, breathy, filled the space between them like music. I caught myself holding my breath, heart pounding so loud I was afraid they might hear. She looked beautiful.
Free.
Not once did she flinch. Not once did she say no. And somehow, that was worse than anything I imagined. Because this wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. She turned to face him as they slowed, kissing him full on the mouth. The kind of kiss that ends chapters. The kind I hadn't tasted in years. He said something, I couldn't hear what, and she laughed, resting her head against his chest. I backed away from the window. Quiet. Careful. I didn't make a sound. I walked to my car with legs that didn't feel like mine and sat behind the wheel for a long time, staring at nothing. She didn't know I'd come home. Neither did he. And I didn't tell her. Not that day. Because I needed to see something first. How deep this went. How far she'd fall. And if there was anything left of the woman I used to love, behind the one I saw now. The next morning, she made pancakes. She danced around the kitchen, humming some songs she used to play when we first moved in. Her hair was tied up. She wore my old college sweatshirt like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't been someone else just hours before. I sat at the table and watched her flip the batter with easy grace. She looked back at me once, smiled, soft, warm, rehearsed. I smiled back. And I hated myself for it. The days that followed were normal. Surreal in their normalcy. She laughed at my jokes. She reached for my hand in bed. We kissed, and when her lips met mine, I tasted nothing. Nothing real. She started talking about planning a weekend away. I nodded, made all the right sounds. But every time she touched me, I saw him. Every time she said my name, I remembered how she moaned his. I couldn't stop the memory from playing in my mind, not like a punishment, but like an obsession. I told myself I needed proof. Real proof. Not blurry shadows through a window. Not suspicion. Evidence. So I bought a camera. Something discreet. Motion activated. I hid it behind the books on the shelf across from the couch, where they always sat when I wasn't home. I told Sarah I had to work late Thursday. She kissed me goodbye at the door. That night, I didn't go to the office. I parked a block away. Waited. The camera pinged my phone around 8:47 p.m. Live feed. I opened it with shaking fingers. There they were. Jake was already there. He sat beside her close. His hand rested on her thigh. She leaned into him like it was natural, like it belonged to them. She said something, the mic didn't catch it, but Jake smiled and nodded. Then he kissed her neck. She tilted her head back, eyes closed. I should have looked away, but I couldn't. Then, and I swear this is true, her eyes opened. Slowly. And she looked directly at the camera. Right at me. She smiled. Not surprised. Not afraid. A knowing, deliberate smile. Then, lips barely moving, she whispered something that sent a chill through my bones. He knows. Jake didn't flinch. Didn't turn. He just kept going, as if this had all been part of the plan. I shut off the feed. Sat in silence. My wife wasn't hiding anymore. She was performing. And I wasn't just watching her fall, I was being invited to. Maybe that was the worst part. Not the betrayal. Not even the sex. But the way she let me see it and smiled. Like she wanted me to.